More and more families are waking up to the fact that public schools are failing. In the 1640s, America's first public educational law, the Old Eleuter-Satan Act, was passed. Its purpose was to create schools in each community so American students receive a sound academic education based on God's Word. Our schools no longer follow this philosophy, and our 21st century schools pose serious dangers to American students. The curriculum and library resources. One of the greatest concerns of public schools is the curriculum and resources found in the school library. The majority of schools currently promote some form of anti-American and anti-Christian values through the Marxist framework such as the 1619 Project, CRT, DEI, and CSE. These ideologies teach students that the system is rigged against them and that we must tear it down. Social-emotional learning is also quickly becoming a centerpiece, which establishes public school learning environments that promote these progressive values. These teachings encourage students to judge by race, gender, and religion, and promote the victim mentality that degrades hard work and determination. The influence of leftist viewpoints, including climate change, evolution, and LGBTQ, are pushed and impact students, causing them to accept knowledge and truth from their teachers and libraries, and at the same time discouraging logic and critical thinking. Some teachers even incentivize students with extra credit for attending leftist rallies and reporting on the events.
I have 180 days to turn them into revolutionaries. Sacramento organization that is under the banner of Antifa is very loosely organized, right? So that, yeah, when there is like right-wing rallies and stuff, then we'll create an opposition to that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Where would you go to connect to some of these organizations?
I post a calendar every week. And then and I do it for extra credit, so they get points for doing it. And so that encourages them to do it. And I've had students show up for protests, community events, tabling, food distribution, all sorts of things. When they go, they take pictures, they write up a reflection. That's their extra credit. I have an Antifa flag on my wall. And a student complained about that, and he said it made him feel uncomfortable. Well, it's meant to make fascists feel uncomfortable, so if you feel uncomfortable, I don't really know what to do.
Standardized testing. The means of evaluating the success or intention of information in public schools is through standardized testing. Standardized tests pressure teachers to focus on teaching to the test. This creates an educational system that significantly reduces the opportunity for students to take a deep dive into subjects. The time spent preparing and taking these tests subtracts from the hours that could be spent developing the students' love of learning. Standardized testing does not include critical thinking or problem solving. For a large proportion of these tests, the students simply color in the correct answer bubble, which limits the ability to think outside the box and draw conclusions on their own. The final result, then, is an education system that may excel in ticking boxes but falls short in nurturing and equipping the next generation with skills that will propel them forward in the real world. Expelling God. Public schools up to the 1960s included prayer and religious teachings. However, a series of United States Supreme Court rulings declared these practices unconstitutional, ushering in a secular era for public schools. Many accept this verdict because of the phrase separation of church and state, but if you ask them if this phrase appeared in the Constitution or any other founding document, the answer would be no. Since these rulings, government schools have become a secular place. God has been removed from public schools. These decisions limited any religious practices, including prayer and teachings of creationism. This has resulted in increasing behavioral issues due to the absence of moral teachings in the classroom. Faith greatly enhances education by providing a strong foundation for learning. As Christians, we believe that God is the ultimate source of knowledge and wisdom. By removing him from schools, we are eliminating the potential for students to grow and thrive academically, emotionally, and spiritually. A worldview is being taught in public schools, and it is not the biblical worldview that supports traditional American values. Teacher unions and tenure. The influence of teachers' unions, which have become political and partisan, have an immense impact on public schools. They use this power to push tenure into all public schools. Let's say a school board identified a problematic teacher. How do they move to dismiss this particular teacher? Well, this process is extremely difficult due to the practice of teacher tenure. Now, what is tenure? According to the National Education Association, tenure status often provides the broadest protections for teachers at the K through 12 level. Tenure laws prevent a school district from dismissing a tenured teacher without good reason. So the policy restricts the ability to terminate teachers without a defined good reason, which raises the question, what is a good reason, and how do you evaluate a teacher? Evaluating a teacher's performance is no easy task. The lack of concrete measures of success makes it challenging to prove that a teacher isn't achieving the required standards. The termination process becomes complicated, leaving room for uncertainty and debate, and thus making it challenging to prove that a teacher is not meeting the required standards. Also, firing a teacher with tenure can lead to legal complications. Teachers protected by unions may contest termination decisions, resulting in grievances and lawsuits. This time-consuming and costly process often steers school districts away from taking action altogether. With 44 states implementing some form of tenure protections, the process becomes challenging for school boards and administrations. This often makes firing a teacher a dreaded and complex task. Teachers enter a bubble seemingly safeguarding them from dismissal and creating a barrier that is nearly impossible to pierce. The prolonged dismissal process acts as a shield against accountability, allowing subpar teaching practices for students to endure. Overcrowding and behavioral problems. With an increasing student-to-teacher ratio, classrooms have become crowded and chaotic, sometimes reaching more than 30 students. This is further amplified by the distractions of cell phones and media in the classroom. Some teachers allow cell phones and some do not, creating different expectations throughout the school day. Students often use their phones to text, play games, and even cheat on tests. The challenge intensifies when a substantial number of students are grouped together for extended periods, spanning a full 7 hours a day, making it hard for both teachers and students to maintain focus. When teachers dedicate excessive time to addressing the needs of a few struggling students, others lose interest. This results in little to no individual attention for students, impeding their ability to develop a genuine passion for learning. The repercussions of overcrowding extend beyond academics, leading into behavioral challenges. The amplification of peer pressure in this environment not only impacts academic pursuits, but also disrupts the social dynamics within the classroom. Safety. Another significant concern with public schools is the issue of physical safety. The safety of children attending public schools is a paramount worry for many parents. Supervising a large number of students poses a challenging task for teachers and staff to adequately monitor and ensure the safety of each student. This leaves students susceptible to bullying, violence, and even accidents caused by their peers. In numerous public schools, students face exposure to alcohol, drugs, and gangs. This exposure profoundly impacts their mental and emotional well-being, resulting in decreased academic performance and in extreme cases leading to dropping out of school altogether. COVID mandates raised additional student safety concerns. Students ranging from as young as 5 years old to college age were forced to sit alone on school buses, wear masks throughout the day, and even engage in rigorous physical activities wearing masks during sports practice. Even when in good health, students were restricted from attending school or participating in sports. These implemented COVID rules were impractical and could be considered a form of child endangerment. This posed serious safety risks for students. School closures for an extended period forced children to isolate at home, leading to substantial psychological impacts on their development. So what's a parent to do? Test scores are plummeting, progressive values and ideals dominate curriculum, there is a growing antagonism to traditional family values, negative peer pressure, behavioral issues, and student safety concerns loom large. In our next video, we will explain the best hope for education.